Let me call the meeting to order at 7:15 for the April regular meeting of the Williston Board of School Directors. Are you ready, by the way?
Yes.
Great. Thank you. Let's do adjustments to the agenda. We have some. First of all, if you direct to 6.1.2, the F4 search, seizure, and interrogation of students by school personnel, we're pulling that out of discussion. That policy is not ready for review. And then Josh, I believe you had a request?
To take out, it seems like a related policy, 8.3.2 out of consent agenda.
Okay, so we'll bring that up into discussion. Or take it out of consent and into action, I guess is what we're going to do, right?
Yes.
Yes. So let me just note that.
Oh, 8.3.2.
So that becomes 7.4. Was 8.3.2. Okay. Any other adjustments? Okay. Audience and communications. Do we have anybody in the audience that?
Sorry, Kevin, do we have to bring up 7.1?
We will at that time.
Okay.
So we'll talk about the amended motion. I'm sorry. Is there anybody in the audience that has anything to contribute before we go forward, besides the regular report? Don't worry, you're going to get your chance. Okay, great. So that brings us to presentations. Let me pass it over to you, Greg. You want to introduce us?
Yes, it's my pleasure to introduce esteemed members of our PE and athletic department. So we have Jen Oakes, athletic director, here with Nadine, athletic director. You're going to help me with your last name.
Pathology.
Thank you. Dustin King, PE teacher. Lynn McClintock, PE teacher. And Kathy Kolash, PE teacher. There are also two members of the department not here tonight, but their work is represented in the presentation, Mary Nelson and Lynn Porter. I'll hand it over to them.
Okay. Where would you like us to be? Is that a fair question?
In the front.
Oh, well, dancing, you said the right word.
Wherever you feel comfortable. That's my answer to that. Sit, stand, juggle, whatever.
I'm gonna stand, because I'm all standing from things.
It's just that you might
See how we're
be.
doing teamwork makes it basic production. So I'm gonna just say thank you very much for having us. It really is, I'm a little nervous because this is an important program for us, and to be able to give it what it deserves, I hope we're gonna do a good job, but I thank you for the opportunity to talk about our program, which we hold near and dear. So, I would like to just read, I'm gonna say ahead of time, we're gonna let you read most of the stuff, but I'm gonna read our mission statement because we feel it is very important. Our mission is to develop physically literate individuals who have the knowledge, skills, and confidence to enjoy a lifetime of helpful activities. When appropriate, we adapt our instruction to meet the needs of individual students.
So I'm going to talk a little bit about the age groupings within the Williston School District. So there's a little bit of an outline here. The PE department teaches all the way from triple E through 8th grade. The triple E program, kindergarten, 1st and 2nd grade, are all housed within the Allenbrook School. And then the 3rd and 4th grade and 5th through 8th grade PE programs are within the Williston Central School. So first I'm going to talk a little bit about triple E. So a little different than some of the other PE programs within the school. They meet once a week for about 30 minutes, and it's a single class format versus a double class format, so the number's a little bit lower. The important thing we want to kind of bring forward as we talk about the triple E through 8th grade program is that we really have worked hard to have a connection between the schools to try to build upon the program and develop skills to kind of ladder on top of each other, so there's a connection and that there's some growth between the programs, so it's not inconsistent, and it allows kind of the students to have a nice basis as they work their way through the PE program. So you'll see in the triple E program kind of introductory skills, locomotor skills, some object control skills, Lynn and Mary like to incorporate health and nutrition activities into their program. I know that's an important thing for them. And then they have some other great activities and community connections, like the bowling unit that they do, where I know we get some equipment from a local business, and it's a great opportunity for the kids, a little connection to some bowling lanes. So you'll see listed here just a variety of things that the Triple E program does. The kindergarten PE program is a little different than Triple E, so they meet actually twice a week. It's still a single class format, so again, that kind of lower student number. But they're going to meet for 40 minutes twice a week. You'll see kind of a building of skills. So the locomotor skills are kind of similar to Triple E. They're still continuing to build on those object control skills, and I know that there's kind of a goal to try to increase the ability level or certain components of those skills as they go through them and learn them. You'll still see bowling, the kids are still participating in that. Parachute activities are involved. The in-school snowboard and balance activities are really great from the Burton program, which brings certain types of balance boards and equipment into the school, kind of a connection to snowboarding and at the same time working on balance with the kids. And then you'll see some other activities there as well. First and second grade program is a little bit different than the kindergarten program, so another little change. They are meeting twice a week as well for 40 minutes, but it's more of like a double class format with, I believe, the exception of one single class, and I'm not sure if it's first or second grade, but for the most part, it's a mix of first and second graders together, with the exception of one. So more students, 2 teachers on, and they really start to add a few new skills. So you see like the jump, leap, and slide are added in. You're trying to increase the expectations maybe for those object control skills for throwing, catching, striking, things of that nature. Trying to increase what you expect. More health and nutrition related activities, which I think is great that they're incorporating that. They get into some gymnastics and balance activities. Bowling is something equipment based that is really nice to continue with all the grades. Tear up, set down can be challenging. The first tee golf program is another great thing to kind of highlight. I know I had it at my former school as well, but you get it from the first tee program, and they actually give you this great youth-based golf equipment, which is larger size balls and clubs, and it allows you to kind of teach those basic striking skills through equipment that's going to allow them to be a little bit more successful. They also, I know at Allenbrook School, they have a walking and running program, and they do a family fitness fun calendar, which are some things that we know about that they do, and they do a really nice job of that. There's just a few pictures here of some kids in action. You can see the bowling kind of in the top 2 pictures. The bowling lanes, there's carpet and markers and pins, and kids set it up and they learn the skills there. Balance activities, looks like a tagging activity, some scooter activities. Some more pictures of things, some outside activities. The parachute, always a great thing to do. Teamwork and cooperation with that kind of K through 2 or Triple E through 2 level students. Thanks.
So now we're over at Williston Central School, and the second graders are now third graders, and we've transitioned just a little bit more. We still have the same format in that the students come in a double class format. They meet twice a week for 40 minutes, but we're trying to strengthen that foundation. So while we still are working on locomotor skills, and we're still working on throwing skills and striking skills, we've added the component of some modified games. So they're now making the transition from the skills we've learned into a game setting. Not always. When we do game units, for instance, volleyball or lacrosse, we'd do a flip-flop activity where one of us would do one activity and the other would do it for 5 classes, then we switch. So it's nice for them to make the connections. We have also I think, a really rich program in that we've taken advantage of local motion. We have a biking program where we have a trailer coming in with bikes, so the students are able to bike. We do have the first tee. We work on fitness skills, and we really continue with what Lynn and Mary talk about, but talk about creating healthy habits for life, so that we're trying to get them in that set for life. So we introduced some lifetime skills. You can see from the right-hand side, we really have a rich variety that we introduce and we provide for our students. We're really not content. We're always trying to make things a little bit better. The other thing that I would hope you notice that we do CSSU-wide district assessments. So we call it practice for the 3-4s doing the fitnessgram, but we do a timed run. We call it a jog run, not a race, so where we're learning pacing. We also do a district-wide overhand throw. I hope you've noticed that besides the lifetime of biking, we have snowshoeing in there. And again, I can't really emphasize enough how we're really trying to strengthen a foundation and expose our students to a really good activities. We do have some special events that are school-wide and one that's 3-4 wide. One is the Related Arts Theme Week, which is Related Arts World Language, and that's in the week prior to February vacation. Then in the end of March, anyone that's at Williston Central School can join the first and second graders over at Allenbrook, and we have Jump Rope for Heart, which is a very successful day. And then this past Friday before vacation, we had Dance-A-Rama, which is just a 3-4 activity. And then we finished, really the culmination of the year is Fun Day, which is right before the students finish and kind of get them punch in the arm, get them ready for an active summer.
So the 5-8 program is delivered a little bit differently again. So now the students come into related arts classes on Monday through Friday, every day, for 6-week rotations. So it's part of a related arts rotation. They actually come around to physical education twice in that rotation. And they also go to family and consumer science, art, music, and tech ed. But physical education twice. So once at the beginning of the year and then another time around. So it's 40-minute classes, double classes again. 5th through 8th graders mix in. They come in with a partner house. One of the houses comes along, the 5th and 6th grade house, Sterling. So they come in, like Full and Swift will come in together. So we get a little bit more mixing with the students from other houses. And in this program, we offer, again, we're building off the skill work and some of the habits that Lynn was talking about with the 3rd and 4th graders, introducing some new things. Now we're really trying to introduce them to maybe some activities they've never heard of or been involved in, getting them to think about the future a little bit. And part of our job is to try to turn them on to some activities maybe they could choose later on in life, which is another nice thing. Similar to what some people know is like a high school elective program. This is middle school, and there's quite a few activities on there. We have a lifetime or individual activity, and we've got a few new ones on there, like disc golf, because we have now community resources. We try to use that beautiful space we have at Williston Central School in the back for lots of activities. And so we've got the disc golf going, there's inline skating, and these are things that we do almost every year with different groups. But we've got, the ice skating rink and snowshoeing, and we have the sand volleyball courts out back, so we have units with that. The step aerobics, we've got, one of the clubs donated some steps to us, and so we use that. We've got that going, so that, lots of variety on the lifetime individual side, where we just kind of introduce them to things, and the activities that are chosen that we actually teach depend on the time of year that the students rotate in to physical education and what the students actually choose. There's some choice here, which is another kind of neat way we deliver this. They get some choice as to what activities are going to go. On the team side, some of your standard ones, the rec games, they actually get to create a game, and we've used games that students have created sometimes, and we are playing them even with the 3rd and 4th graders. What else is up there? Ultimate Frisbee, and I know this weekend there'll be a high school tournament right in the back, and so we talk about that in class. Go out and look, this weekend, so you can see these are things for you for the future. So again, using the resources in our beautiful space, we try to utilize that a lot, which is great. We also do, next slide, I think, Nadine. There we have the district assessments again. And striking is the one added onto the fitness part. That's eye-hand coordination, some special events, and we'll have a few slides later on a few of them. But the theme week, again, the Related Arts and World Language Theme Week. Shape Vermont, Dustin will talk about that in a little bit. There's a middle school fitness competition. Actually, we're bringing students to that next week. Those are people that take their fitness seriously and perform very well and would like to see how they do against other kids in Vermont. And these are, we call these extensions to our program, opportunities for kids in the upper houses to kind of do something else above and beyond the regular rotation of phys ed. So the Dance-A-Rama choreographers, Lynn will talk about that. We have 7th and 8th graders come in and actually teach a dance to a class of 38 or 40 3rd and 4th graders and do a presentation, which is the highlight for me, especially for the year. The Fun Day student helpers, the physical education staff from both schools design 20-something stations out in the back. We're out on the big field. The 1st, 2nd, 3rd, and 4th graders all kind of go through stations that the 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th graders actually run the stations and encourage them and kind of get to be the student leaders, which is a really fun day. They're mostly cooperative and special challenges, kind of fun stuff at the end of the year. And Lynn will talk, or Nadine, those guys will talk about the ski and ride instructors. So again, extensions, pretty open program, covering a lot, and hoping to just here's some students in action. That's Fun Day on the left on the top, a little equipment relay. There the step aerobics students in the class. There's some inline skaters getting ready to go out onto the park path and actually using, on the bottom left, using some of the space out there. We have the biking program. We've got the students, and I will say that Mrs. McClintock has taught many students in Williston how to ride a bike who have never been on a bicycle before. Very interesting. And then we've got that she can do it, yes. And then we have, that's broom ball on the bottom right. So, just kind of nice. I think another slide. That on the top is our strength, balance, and flexibility unit, which is the tumbling and gymnastics. Mrs. McClintock leading the way. That's awesome. We've got some cooperative games, more biking program inside. There's Dustin spotting a child on the traveling rings. We've got some kids that are out on the disc golf course and a student with a modified striking activity.
So we did want to highlight the fact that we take advantage of the fact that we're in Vermont, and we want our students to know they can be outside year-round. We take advantage this year, unfortunately. We
What's Vermont?
We weren't able to snowshoe.
That's last year,
Maybe
though.
today.
But we do start. Yeah, right. We do start with the education of how to put on the snowshoes. I mean, a lot of people take it for granted, but we take time to make sure that they know how to put their snowshoes on, because there's nothing worse than being out snowshoeing and have your snowshoe come off. And then after we go out snowshoeing, we go around. We've got a great facility for going around. And honestly, my favorite picture is the bottom left, because that's really what we should be doing. And I love that we're able to take advantage of where we live because of the equipment we've been able to get. And then Kathy talked about with the 3-4s, we do a dance-a-rama, which each class that comes together learns a dance. And the thing I like about it is we're mixing all the 3-4s together. They have an opportunity to learn how to present in front of other people, but also how to be an audience member. So it's kind of, and the other thing is we get some 7th and 8th graders that would like to be choreographers, and they lead a dance. They choreograph it themselves, and then they teach it to the students. And it's a very fun day. And we finish with a dance that the teachers do for the students, because we like to show them that we don't just ask them to do, we also do.
Mr. Marino was in that picture, just in case anybody wanted to know.
Oh, geez.
And there were some interesting judges this year. I watched that.
Yes, we are able to get famous people to judge. So if anyone wants to get a hold of Beyonce, I know how.
So I'm going to talk a little bit about some technology use in PE. We always think, how can we use it without maybe taking away from the activity portions of class? So how do you mix it in the right way? Some different things we try to use, some heart rate monitors within the school. Pedometers are something that we use, kind of step counting and seeing how far we've traveled in the course of a class or a day. Fitnessgram is our fitness testing program, and that's an electronic program we can enter data into and see kind of the data trends amongst the kids, and that helps us pick students for the Shape VT fitness competition. Flip camera and videos are something that it's really important to us, especially in the assessment sense. It's kind of challenging as a PE teacher to always see something with your eye right on the spot. So if we're able to videotape and then later on look at those together, we can kind of pick things out, trends or skills, components to skills that we might see, and video is really a great avenue for doing that. Music is a great motivator. If you've ever seen a PE class without music and with music, there's a lot more movement involved with music. Just adding the music can really kind of kick it up. And then I know especially at Allenbrook, Pinterest is something that Mary Nelson mentioned to us she uses for ideas within the PE program. Really can get some nice ideas from that. And Lynn Porter had mentioned to us as well that Twitter and Facebook are ways that they're kind of using to promote the program. Shape VT. So this is something new in Vermont, formerly Vapored, now known as Shape VT. It's the Association of Health and Physical Educators that this year voted to change the name to Shape VT. So it kind of took all these standards that we had, these Great Expectation standards that have been used for a while in PE, and has made us sort of nationally focused. So everyone is kind of teaching to the same national standards. So what you'll see is we were in the course of and using the Shape VT standards, which are also the national shape standards, to kind of help design our curriculum and assessments through the program. And the 5 listed there are just kind of the main power standards that then are broken down specifically based or within the 5, but those are kind of the 5 main. And the new kind of buzzword in PE is kind of physically literate, so kind of understanding how it all works with yourself, your body, community, in action, things like that.
So we're always open to having you get a hold of us. We love talking about a program that we're pretty passionate about. And so please don't hesitate to contact any of us at any point with any question. But I would like to thank you again for your time. We took a little bit longer than we were supposed to, but it is because we feel very strongly about this. So we appreciate the time you've given us. And does anyone have any questions?
Oh, I think we get to, do I get to go first? Or do we
And then
do
questions?
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's
Yeah.
do that.
Okay.
Like,
Sorry, do a switch.
Because she'd like to get going.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
I can be real quick. How much time do I have?
You're doing, you got time.
Yeah. So we have 3 seasons of sports. You can click through. We have 3 seasons. We have a fall, winter, and a spring. Each season we have 2 to 3 teams that compete. We are, I would say, a fairly competitive school within our district and also throughout. So in the fall we have soccer, field hockey, cross country. Soccer is boys and girls. Field hockey is girls only. And
You can move.
oh
Yep.
Yep.
Okay.
no,
Okay,
go back.
Go
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, cross country is, they have a boys team and a girls team, but they train together. Winter basketball, we have boys and girls. Volleyball is mixed. Spring track and field is mixed. Baseball, boys, softball, girls. 6th through 8th grade. At one point, we did have a dance team that has kind of fallen away over the past few years.
We did have 5th graders.
But we did have 5th graders that were on dance team. We run Monday through Thursday. We usually have off on Fridays. Just seems to have worked for our schedule that way. Practice times are 3 to 4:30. Games tend to run longer. They usually start at 4 o'clock. There's usually a 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock game if you have an A side and a B side. We have transportation after school, late activity bus. We have transportation to venues, but no transportation home, so we expect that parents are picking students up there. Games, 2, sometimes 3 a week for soccer, field hockey, 2 basketball, baseball and softball. Track and field and cross country tend to have 1 a week, a meet. They tend to last pretty long. it's an event.
8 o'clock at night. In other words, until it gets dark.
That is a track or field athlete. They go for a long time. Okay, yeah, we can skip through. So For soccer, we had, I think this year we had close to 45 boys out for the soccer team, and we had 30-some girls out for. So pretty large. We do not make cuts for soccer. Everyone gets to play, and we're extremely competitive within our district, definitely. Field hockey, 45 at least, pretty high numbers, lots of girls. They don't split A and B for the soccer teams. We do split an A and B. We don't cut, but we do split them, which can be tough sometimes for those kids. For field hockey, they'd, by game, change it up. So it's more one big team. They decide who's going to play the first game and who's going to play the second game. So it's less of an A team, B team. Definitely includes a lot more kids that way. And they have a similar schedule to the soccer team, so a couple games a week.
4 practices a week.
Yeah, runs all the way through, starts the second day of school and runs through October.
That's soccer. Field hockey starts after Labor Day.
No, yeah, it's pretty close. It's close to the first day of school. And then cross country, they are a mixed team, 2 coaches for the one full team. They travel together, they practice together, but they run separately. Bless you. Yeah.
And they only do Monday, Wednesday, and
Monday, Wednesday, Thursday.
not Tuesday.
But some of the meets are different. It really depends on them. Basketball, we have 6 teams. We have 3 teams for the girls, 3 teams for the boys, 1 A team, 2 B teams. We definitely have fewer girls coming out than we do boys. We've had up to 70-some boys trying out for 3 teams. The last few years has been a little bit less, but we definitely have to make cuts because you can't, it's really hard to get more than 12 kids in on a basketball court in a game. So we do make cuts to basketball, but we encourage them to play for the rec department because they have a really good program. So we try to get as many kids that aren't making the team to go out for rec. And that's a long season. Starts
Second week of November.
yeah, starts in November and goes all the way through to February break. So it's a pretty long haul. The A teams practice 4 days a week or have games 4 days a week. They usually have 2 games a week, and the B teams alternate. So they will. We use all 3 gyms. We use the ABS gym and both gyms at Williston, and practice schedules are pretty hectic, I would say, to get everybody in, but it works out for us. Yep. Ski and ride program is not ours. We don't run it, the rec department runs it, but we, Lynn and I both are really involved. We have student instructors that are teaching all of the younger grades, so 6th, 7th, 8th graders that are high level are really involved. We're super involved with teaching them to be ski and snowboard instructors, and it's a pretty awesome program. So we, although we're not running it, we are really involved in it. That's Fridays in the winter, starting right after winter break, going all the way, I think it's 10 weeks.
And it's located at?
At Cochrane.
That was so good, Josh.
Thank you.
Sorry, couldn't.
So the last couple of years we've done volleyball March Madness, and it's just starting up. I think since they've started the volleyball programs in the high school, kids are wanting to play, and we had a lot of kids this year. 40.
It actually almost it was 45, and we had the same number last year.
Yeah.
We had 2 great months of March Madness.
Tons of kids,
So it was
boys and
wonderful.
girls mixed. We tried splitting them this year, and they played separately, and I really liked them mixed together. It was just a really fun, competitive but fun activity. We went 3 days a week this year. I think that seemed like the appropriate amount of time.
That was pretty
And
much
then-
what we did, yeah.
And then round robins with, on Wednesdays at Allenbrook with a bunch of Essex and
Vermont
Six other
Common
schools.
School, Shelburne, Charlotte didn't come over this year, but they did last year, and ADL, Essex Town, ADL.
Yeah, so we hosted at
and South
Allenbrook,
Burlington.
and they would, we would come, we had high school students coming to volunteer and parent volunteers, and we were both there.
This program wouldn't have happened if we hadn't had a parent volunteer,
Yeah.
because this is a totally volunteer program. Nobody gets paid for this. The school, this is just something that we felt it was important that we offer. So as the athletic department, we just said, we'll do it for the month of March because we have nothing else scheduled, and we can do this, in a very low-key manner if we can get some parents to come in and help. But it ended up Nadine was there all the time. I was there all the time last year. So that will continue to be the case. But it was wonderful.
Yeah.
And we have to. Julietta Rushford was the one who was the impetus last year, and she carried on a little bit this year. And then we had Mike Detch also, who came in and was very instrumental, because he also is coaching here at CVU, and we've had so much support from Gino Johnson. He sent his girls to come and help with the program, so we had girls from the high school coming down to help.
Awesome.
And that we also were helped by the boys coach, Mr. Oliva. Oliva, thank you, because I
Yeah.
can never say it correctly.
There's
Thank you.
definitely talk of considering making it a more competitive
Nice.
activity. Yep. Okay, spring. We have it's spring right now. We haven't had a baseball game yet. The first two have been canceled. So
Softball has played in one.
so we have baseball team. They have two teams. They have one team, but they have 20-some boys this year.
Oh, they kept 20.
They kept 20. They made a couple of cuts. Softball was pretty low numbers this year, but they are making the best of it. And they have 13 girls, I think, this year. But
13 or 14. It depends, because people were away on vacation.
yeah, so that, but I think typically there's close to 18 kids at least playing. They started, let's see, when did we start? A couple weeks ago, April.
Yeah,
As soon as
the
we
last week
can get on the
The
field.
last week of March, they started
This-
indoors.
This year, when they could get out, they got outside really, really fast.
Right.
And they'll have a game or two or three a week for about a month.
Yes, it's just really, this year we tried to go the Wednesday or Thursday before vacation.
Yeah.
And we actually got a softball game in. The baseball field is not good.
Yeah.
Then, and last year was the first year we actually could get games in April, and we were able to do that last year. This year, I don't know what's gonna happen because we've got snow. But just as a heads up here, the boys' baseball team went undefeated last year. They were very, very successful, and the girls had one of the best seasons they've had in years. So it was a really, and the soccer team has been undefeated. Boys' soccer team has been undefeated for a number of years now.
Yep.
So those are
And then the last thing we have in the spring is track and field. We have two coaches. We have a lot of kids. We have at least 30, 40 kids each year. And we have probably 8 meets. We have a championship meet at the end of the season, which is pretty extremely fun. This year is going to be at UVM, which is kind of a big deal for the kids to run on a track with like that. So it's pretty exciting. Yeah, that's. I was trying to zoom through. I think that's it.
Yeah, that's the last one.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. You have anything else?
no,
Okay.
that's good.
So,
Quick questions?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, looking at competitive sports only, any sense of the breakdown of boys to girls? Is it pretty equal in participation? Does one gender dominate any
Number of people participating, you said?
in aggregate? If we said 400 kids or 200 kids are playing competitive sports throughout the year, half of them boys, half of them girls, 60-40, 30-70.
There might be
I
a
would
few more boys than girls.
60-40 maybe,
Yeah.
I think, boys.
That sounds about right.
Because there are more boys participating in soccer. However, field hockey is an all-girls sport,
Right.
and that has 45, though she would like to have boys play. I'd like to, and we have long ago, but we were told by the state we weren't allowed to. But anyway, so because we have 45 girls playing field hockey, it balances out the soccer. So I would say,
And I would say for
it was
track.
it was really close.
More girls on
Track, there are more
More
girls
girls.
in track and cross country.
So-
More girls are running.
So I would say, I was wrong when I said it was 60-40, because I was thinking of the soccer, but I forgot about the field hockey. Absolutely
say-
overbalances it.
Why would the state say you couldn't have a field hockey program for boys?
We could probably have a field hockey program for boys if we just wanted to offer it only for boys. We were having it as part of our co-ed program, so that we had boys playing on our field hockey team at one time. And they were concerned, I know, they were concerned that the boys were going to hit the ball too hard in this environment, and so that they made a choice not to allow it to happen.
They should have.
So actually, I
people-
talked to, I can address this because I was involved in it, and I did talk to someone who I thought would be an advocate that was on the
BPA.
the VPA, and she really surprised me. She didn't want the boys to be involved, and the boys that did play for us were successful. And I coached here at CVU, and I had a couple boys playing, and that was not a problem. I called every coach, and I said, I've got a couple boys, is that okay? And with the exception of one team, they were okay. And then when we contacted the VPA, they said, nope, if there's a problem, you've got to provide football, but football is available. Because of Title IX, you got to have equal opportunity, but they're two different sports. And honestly, I think it is a boys' sport. It's bigger.
Internationally,
Well, to be perfectly honest with you, field hockey started as a men's sport internationally, and became a women's sport only after the fact. And it was an Olympic men's sport first before it was a women's sport. So, and they play co-ed field hockey all over the world. We offer field hockey and physical education, and we have had boys take it. So you'd have to, in order to have a team, you'd have to have people to play against as well. So you can offer intramurals anytime you want and have boys come in and play. So
Yeah,
there are opportunities for boys that want to play field hockey in Williston.
I still was frustrated.
Any other questions? Well, I have to commend you guys on the depth and diversity of your program, and also on the passion you bring to it. It's obvious to us, and we appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you for taking the time to listen to us.
Thank you very much. Kevin,
Yes.
would it be okay if we had Chris present on program
Absolutely.
council now?
Yep.
Thank you.
So program council first?
Yes, that's okay.
Absolutely.
Chris, we're gonna put you now, so
Bring it right up. So now we're into section 5.0, and we'll do program council first. Give Chris a chance to bring us up to date.
Good. So we brought visuals this time.
Ooh.
We thought that it was just important, probably about 2 or 3 years ago, to really clarify for our members what our process is when we take on things in program council. So we put it into this, we like to think of it as a flow chart, in that if something comes into program council, it starts here and it goes through this process. This is usually where the work's done in program council, where we provide input, we submit it to administration. They might come back and ask for clarification, and then administration will make the decision. And then the second part is how it's kind of rolled out. And so we use this in every meeting to look at the things that we've taken on in the year and say, where are we now? Where are we now? Like, so we're kind of rolling back into where our progress is. So, so to kind of give you an idea, for this year, there were 3 big things we took on. One was this idea of how are we supporting educators when new initiatives come to the district. The other 2 were how we place students as they transition between grade levels. And the third was the MTSS system, the multi-tier system of supports in the district. So what you can see here is, for this one, this was a really successful one. This came up last spring, It was identified as something that program council members wanted to talk about. They felt like there was a lot of stuff coming down the pike, and we would like to just think about how to make it work best for us and for students. So we started talking about it last spring, and we were able to get to a point where we made some recommendations by the end of last school year. And then this year, the administration did a lot of work on those recommendations, and were able to make some decisions earlier this year, and then roll it out. And actually, we have, I don't know if you know, but in our conference rooms at both schools, there is a big chart, and it says, this is how the district will approach initiatives. And it was a real great loop back from something that program council members had said, and teachers had said, we'd like to talk about this. And it kind of went through the whole cycle. And so now we're at a point where we can talk about how's it going, as we go on to the years. So this was a real great one because it was, nothing's really done. Carter Smith said to me today, done really isn't the vocabulary for us in human services. But it is at the point of, it's done enough that we can start thinking about how we're rolling it out and where we are for feedback and how we can improve it. The second part was a big one. This was about student placement. And in the beginning, the discussions were pretty wide-ranging. People had a lot of different things to say about it. But what it came down to were these 4 ideas of things about how special ed students with special needs are placed, how we're applying some of our Tier 2 supports, how we're thinking about parent input, and then who is at the table making those decisions. And so it was so big that we decided to split it into 2 parts. And so our work took place a lot during November and February. But from that, we were able to generate a list of kind of, this is where we stand, these are things we think about with placement. And then the leadership team was able to take those ideas, and our meeting just a few weeks ago, when it was actually warmer and not snowing, was to actually come back to look at what the administration had said and give them some more clarification. Like, there were some decisions that were able to be made, and then leadership said, we'd really like you guys to chew on this a little bit more and give us some more feedback. So, so this is one where we've done a lot of the work, and now it's kind of in this finalizing towards some decisions that should have some impact, I believe next year, or at least in the near future, in terms of how we place students, how we convey information from sending teachers or teams to receiving teachers and teams, and also, again, how, like, when we think about placement, who is looking at the big picture, who's having contributions, and how does that filter in different steps of the process. So it's a big piece of school, but I think we made some real headway on that. And then the final one, this is one we're just kind of getting into. This was something that leadership said we really should talk about this, and it matched very well with a topic that members had thought was important too, which is what is this? What is the system, and how can we make sure that we're really improving outcomes for students in terms of what we're doing, and are we doing it efficiently? Are we doing it effectively? So it was introduced as a topic in February. And then at our last meeting, we did a lot of work where Greg actually he structured the discussion so we were able to think about what are we doing in classrooms, what are we doing in the EST process, and then what kinds of resources do we have and how are we applying them. And in each one, it was presented as what's going on now, what do we think, and where would we like to go? What kind of our kind of North Stars, where we'd like to go with it. And so we were able to do that, and that is going to really inform what we pick up when we come back in the fall in program council, to really look at the system more and think, can we make it more explicit? Can we make it more coherent among the different teams and be more effective for students and their outcomes? So, so that was a lot of talking and a lot of processing as the program council, but we really feel like we made concrete steps, and we have an idea of where we want to go starting next year. Okay.
Yeah,
Questions?
just for the benefit of our new board members, if you could just take a couple minutes and kind of give just a high-level overview of what Program Council is, who is Program Council, and how it kind of fits in?
Yeah, sure.
That'd be helpful.
So Program Council is a place for representatives for all the components of the WSD's faculty and staff to come together and take on and think about issues that affect the district, both schools, Williston as a whole, and provide recommendations and advise the leadership team on steps that they think might be helpful. It's also a place for people to come with ideas and say, hey, I think this might make a difference for student outcomes. And you kind of get to vet that idea with people from across the spectrum of what's in our district. So we meet 4 to 5 times a year for a half day, and we put stuff on a Google site. So actually, for you guys who do, we have this Google site that I can share with you, and you can look at all our past minutes over the past 4 years, I think. And also, there are some really quick and easy things to see how we're doing on certain things we've taken up.
Nice. Great. Thank you.
Yeah.
As you know, there's going to be a public vote on school consolidation.
Yeah.
Has Program Council given any thought to, in the event the voters of Williston and other communities vote for consolidation, how Program Council may operate in that environment?
No, that's a good question. We have not, we haven't thought about how we'll operate. Our idea probably is, we'd want to continue some kind of representative body to hold this, but it's actually something that, it didn't come up in our meetings this year, but it'll probably be coming up soon. So, I think we're hopeful that the voice of that, kind of that ability for the whole district to kind of have a way to think about how things are going will be maintained, just to provide that perspective.
If I may, I've always found the input of Program Council very helpful in how we deliberate, so I hope the role continues in whatever new governance structure emerges, if any.
Okay. Me too.
But I can't imagine any reason right now, from what I know about the governance proposal, why Program Council couldn't operate in much the way that it operates now and still form the same functions and do the good work it's doing with a different governance structure.
As someone on the, Act 46 committee, I can't imagine that either. I think it's the same as PTO. That those structures are still key to the, that school's
Right.
operation, that building, and the staff within that building. So
Yeah, I agree as someone on the committee too, and I also hope that there could be more opportunities for teams like you to look at some of these issues across the system and, find best practices that you may not be exposed to now.
You mean across the SU?
Across the consolidated district. Just maybe,
are there
maybe not.
program councils in other? Does every school have a program council?
I don't know if we know that.
I think so.
Yes.
At some
In
point.
fact, there's a note in the collective bargaining agreement about it.
No.
But they look very different in each of the schools.
Interesting.
One thing I will point out, and just want to acknowledge Chris and also Kathy Gray, that's unique about Williston is that we have 2 facilitators. They receive a small stipend, but they do a tremendous amount of work.
It's clear to us. We appreciate it.
And preparing and making these meetings meaningful and productive, and I've really enjoyed working as a trio and preparing for my first year of Program Council at Williston. So it's a really high leverage move to have staff facilitators. So administrators can be administrators and participate, as opposed to trying to facilitate and also, so it's really great.
Yeah, I think it allows for a true dialogue.
Yeah, we think it brings a different lens to issues, which is good. Yeah.
The other thing one other thing I'll add is, last year we did work with Shelburne Community School. Some representatives from there came and they talked with us, and they did an observation of a meeting to kind of get some ideas of how they could do it. So there have been some feelers in terms of SU thinking about this as a system. And I think, it was really easy and it was good, so we'd be open to that too.
Thank you very much.
Okay,
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you very much.
Take care.
Okay, other reports to the board. Principal's report was in your package, but Greg, if there's anything of note that you'd like to mention.
Are there any questions from the board about anything in the report?
I just had a question about approximately how much would be needed from the facilities fund for the fire safety.
It depends. We're in the process. That's a big question. We had an engineer do some work to spec out a biddable project for one item, which is the magnets on the doors.
Okay.
So electromagnet door releases. So we're not allowed to use door wedges.
Oh.
So door wedges were pretty much a common part of the culture, and the fire marshal came through and says, you can't do this.
Okay.
So the way that many districts have handled that, and you've got magnetic door holders that are electrically controlled.
Mm-hmm.
When the fire alarm goes off, those are magnetically released. You keep the doors locked, so it's a security enhancement as well.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, so that's a very expensive endeavor to install door locks. So we're in the process of getting bids on that.
So you're not there yet, okay.
Not there yet.
When do they expect that to be done?
I would like, if possible, to start that project in the summer.
So it would be something that we could tie into the bond, because those door locks are really expensive.
It could be, but I don't want to wait that long
Okay.
to start, which is why this note is in this report.
Can we put in the bond to like pay back the money into the facility fund? I don't know if you can even do that,
I
but.
don't know if you can
What do you mean, spend it in advance of the bond and then?
Voters don't like that so much.
No, you can, no. No, it's a good thought. No, and I think Williston's poised to have a construction fund with a certain amount of money into it, and I think what would work is to get a jump on it by using that fund. But I think the thinking is once we get the quote in and we understand the landscape, we'll be back with some sort of detailed recommendation for.
So I bring that particular example up, and I feel a certain urgency around it because there's also a climate issue associated with closed doors. And climate in two ways, really, not meaning the pun.
Right.
But it's air movement, but it's also a feeling of less of an open feeling when you're walking down a hallway, a corridor, and you're seeing lots of closed doors. Well, one thing I didn't realize until after we complied with the removal of the wedges is a lot of our doors are solid and don't have windows. So, when you're walking around and you're staring at a bunch of closed doors without windows, it gives a different feeling. Kids have commented on it, adults have commented on it. I'd like to remedy that as soon as possible.
So is in the changing environment that we work in, live in, unfortunately, there's violence here and there. Those locks are typically only associated with the fire alarm. Have you thought about potentially having a separate switch, a
Yes.
security switch, where you can shut all those doors and they lock automatically, so you can isolate whatever's going on in the building?
Yep. Some people call it a panic button. Yeah, we would definitely install that. We did something similar in Charlotte. It's just at any point we can just hit that button without any sound at all. All those magnets release. And again, you get the procedure and the protocol down around keeping the doors locked,
Yep.
so that when they close, there's nothing else the teacher needs to do.
Yeah.
Um,
That will address some of the things that you need to address in the bond. So does that change the bond at all?
There is a line item in the bond around
Doors.
fire code compliance, but there's a lot rolled into that line item, so I would hesitate to say that number would come down significantly. One of the things that we would do that our engineer advised is that if we start a project like this over the summer, while they're running cable, to run lines that would allow us to easily upgrade different systems because we're not running cable twice. So just a couple of notes I'd like to add to this. Just a note about the 7/8 concert and Dance-A-Rama and how those two things were real examples of what happens when you hand it over to kids. It just was blown away. I used to be an instrumental music teacher, and my wife always bugs me about being very difficult to impress at a concert, but I was blown away by the concert and how the children owned everything about it. And the teachers were really facilitators and in the wings, and because of it, it just reached new levels. And just on the same the same theme to see the Dance-A-Rama event and having the 7th and 8th grade students up there in front of all the 3rd, 4th grade and all the staff, and with pride saying, yeah, we taught these 3rd and 4th graders this dance, and then lead the 3rd and 4th graders, kind of cueing them in front as the performance was happening. It's just it was great. 2 examples of leveraging student ownership.
And to take that one step further, just so that the board is aware, I was at my dentist today, and we were just generally talking, and that came up, and how much her kids enjoyed it, and she actually went to see it, from what I understand, so she was pretty impressed.
I've been to see it a couple times and actually watched the link that you had on Facebook.
Oh, great, great.
And I couldn't, it was amazing. I mean, and the judges, I mean, the staff that dress up for the judges, it's hysterical. And Lynn, the first year they did it, I didn't know that parents could go, and Lynn kept, she's like, Karen, you gotta come. And so I've tried to sneak in, several times, and it's really great. And it is great how they cheer each other on, and,
Yep. So. One more small note. Yep. Just on the Smart But Scattered piece here, I wanted to let you know that the leadership team, Jackie, John, and I, and Carter, are also engaged in the professional book discussion on that same text. So just thought it was important to dig in as a leadership team on that same text and get ourselves acquainted with that learning.
Didn't Carter write in the school bell about it or something?
I think he did, yes.
Are people actually using that technology? I work in a hospital, and it's installed everywhere, and no one touches it.
What technology are you referring
that
to?
Smart board, that smart.
Oh,
that stuff.
That's not what this is referring to. Smart But Scattered is a text, and it's I'm going to blank on the name of the author, but essentially it's about executive functioning skills and how we all these executive skills that help us succeed in life and in school. And we're noticing that these skills can be explicitly taught as early as kindergarten, and that by not teaching them or by giving them a little more attention, we can really give kids an advantage. So an example is just being able to organize tasks and having routines and predictable, consistent steps to processes all help kids develop executive skills that help them pretty much in everything they do. So that's what this book is about. And the title, Smart But Scattered, there's a boatload of us out there who have lots of intelligence, but have trouble harnessing it because our executive skills aren't as honed as they could be.
Okay, wonderful.
One thing that I wanted to just bring up is Shrek, the musical, and just that it was a great performance, and
Yes.
I know that ticket sales were off sort of a week or so before the event, and I didn't know if that remedied itself, and that it, because usually the musical is sold out, all shows, and I just wasn't sure what it was a function of, the timing of it, the actual show itself, or
I'm asking the director, Sean, for a little bit of a brief summary for the next report.
Just to,
It was a great, yeah.
Well, because I've also heard, such incredible things about the Charlotte show that was directed by a CBU student too, and just that whole idea of the leadership of a student.
Yes.
Bringing to a middle school performance too is just sort of an intriguing thing too. So, and I know you were part of that one.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. 5.2, the professional development video montage. I know there was a link to it in the details. I don't know if people got a chance to see it. Do you want to talk to that, Greg, at all, or anybody else?
That's good.
Okay. CSSU debrief. Trying to think we'll talk about the calendar. I think we should talk about the calendar when it comes up in action, because that there was a change to the proposed calendar that came up in discussion and then in action at the CSSU level. Basically to change the placement of the early release and late start days in the calendar such that they're consecutive and consistent, starting in the beginning of the year and ending in the middle of May, instead of, there was a number of places in the calendar where there were not any, and it was perceived and concerned that it was going to be confusing to parents to know when a week doesn't have one. So
You mean some at the local schools and the high schools aren't back to back? Is that?
no, there are some weeks where there aren't any early releases at all.
Yeah, like September,
and
June, so if you look
they're
at
scattered
September.
throughout the calendar, and for the most part, they're on weeks that are short weeks anyway.
Mhm.
But even given that, there was concern that still people wouldn't know. So that was remedied in an amendment to the motion, such that they'd all be consistent. I think I explained that well. But we'll dig into it in action. CSSUD, was there anything else? Let me just check back
Was
on.
everybody at the common topic?
Yeah, I
So,
don't know if you got a chance to go to the
we're
common
all-
topic. If you didn't, it was by Heather Lynn. And she did she's our counsel, and she did a great job explaining changes in the bullying and harassment policy and how it affects our resourcing and a lot of different things. It was worth going back and watching, actually. And then I think the only other thing of note is that there's a committee update, the Act 46 Study Committee update. The State Board of Education approved the proposal, so we will we'll have a special meeting next week to warn for a vote in June, on June 7th.
That's the one on Tuesday at 8 a.m.
Yeah, it's Tuesday at 8 a.m. The intention is to have it, because of the timing, you have to warn at a certain time. You can't do it early, you have to do it within a specific number of days. That's the day that makes the most sense for us to do it, because we will be, the board chairs meeting is at the same time, and so we'll take a chunk out of that, call in the folks who have said that they can be there for quorum for each board, because every town has to warn, and that has to come from that town's school board. And so that's the intent of that. So it'll be a very quick meeting. We'll have an action item, we'll take a vote, and move on.
Sandy would like you to, as early as you can on your Tuesday calendar, to wander by the school and sign the actual
Yes,
petition.
there is, yes, we then need to have you actually sign the warning. So if you vote in favor, you need to sign the warning.
But that can happen subsequent.
But it's gotta happen that day.
It happens subsequent to the 8 a.m. session, but it has to happen quickly, because we've got a schedule to get it out, not we. We have a schedule to get it out, posted in the community, signed by clerks and so forth, so.
So let me, my intention was to attend by telephone that day.
Mhm.
I'll be calling in from Montpelier.
Mhm.
So I'm not getting back to sign that probably that day.
I'm in the same situation.
That afternoon?
So would you be able to stop in Wednesday morning, like at the
Yes.
7:00, 7:30 time?
Yes.
So I won't pick up the warning from Williston's main office until Wednesday morning, so that you two can stop in.
Okay.
Now, where is, silly question, where is the Williston main office? Is it-
Right when you walk in the front of the school,
Yep, just
right
right
by
on
the
the
dining room
left-hand side.
across from, yeah.
You walk
Yeah,
in, it's
okay.
on the right-hand
Right.
side, and to make it even easier, there is a mailbox in there that very seldom used, that says school board.
Oh,
There is.
okay.
So that in case they get in early, well, it's gotta be someone there, but,
Yeah, I
That way
did talk
there
to
won't be any-
Amy Benoit.
yeah.
Someone
And
will
so
be there
she's
by
aware
7.
that
So
you're
we can
coming.
come in around 7 o'clock on Wednesday.
Yeah, you'd be great.
That'd be great.
Thank you.
Perfect.
Yeah, so that's the logistics around that.
So it'll be Wednesday the
4th. Yes, right. Okay.
And then the only other thing that came up at the end of the meeting was about thinking about the retreat,
Mhm.
and that at board chairs next week, we'll talk about possibly discussing the retreat for May 26th versus after the vote instead.
Because there was a very astute board member,
Karen?
who brought up the point to the superintendent that, hey, if we consolidate, do we need to have this retreat now? And maybe the retreat needs to be with a different board under a different pretense, and so maybe we should not have it that week. Maybe if we need it, we should have it later on. So that'll be discussed at board chairs, and we'll get a decision and get that rescheduled if it's appropriate.
I think that makes a lot of sense.
I think a lot of people went, So, yeah. So we'll discuss that and get that taken care of. Okay. Okay. Program council we did, FAPAC.
So, very quickly, we had talked about the fundraisers that the basket raffle raised over $11,000 for the school.
Awesome.
We have two fundraisers. FAP has two fundraisers. I cannot say we. I'm sorry. Williston Runs for Education, which is on May 14th, and Williston at the Lake Monsters, which is July 16th. And then there was a discussion about Appreciation Week. The school board we usually do something as part of Appreciation Week. So Wednesday is the day FAP is doing their breakfast, which is the May 4th.
Mm-hmm.
So other days that week would be open, I think, Greg, for school board to
Yes.
bring bagels in, or what, I'm not sure what we usually
So
do, Kevin. So.
traditionally, the school board has supplied bagels and cream cheese and asked the cafeteria to bring in a pot of coffee. And we do it at both schools. And we like to have at least one board member there just to do a meet and greet and thank you. And just from my own experience, it's a wonderful time to kind of touch base. Teachers do come and it's well worth the time if you have it. So we really should right now pick a date.
Can't do it on the Tuesday.
Can't do it on the Tuesday,
the
right?
The 3rd, because we just talked
right.
about all
Tuesday
these-
the 3rd's out. Maybe Thursday works.
Just Thursday, I think worked right.
Thursday would be fine.
Okay.
It's never a bad time for bagels.
That's kind of how I looked at it.
Thursday the 6th.
That's my motto.
Thursday the 6th.
I don't have it up.
The 5th, I think?
It'll be the
Thursday.
5th, yeah.
So before school in both buildings on the same day.
So
Yes.
what would the time frame be?
7:30.
7:30 to 8:15,
Yeah,
8:30?
7:15.
Yeah, usually 7:15 to
Yeah,
8-ish because they're going to start class.
that's on FAP usually.
Yeah, and
I could do Allenbrook.
great.
Yeah, I can be at Central. Is it in the dining room usually?
At Central, it's in the dining room. At Allenbrook, it's in the conference room right across from John Turco's office. It's smaller, but
yeah,
it
okay.
works out.
Okay.
Just-
Okay.
Do you want to see if the space is available for that Thursday?
Sure.
And if not,
Or do you
something
want us to
alternative.
email somebody?
I can do it. Just keep in mind that Allenbrook starts 15 minutes earlier, so teachers are there 15 minutes earlier. And then
Especially coming at 7 then, or?
Yeah,
Yeah.
7's
Yeah.
good.
Okay.
My calendar's not loading on my phone, but I would like to do that, so I'll let,
Well, all are welcome.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll be there for
The
sure.
more, the better,
Yeah.
honestly. What we traditionally do is call and order bagels from Bagels Plus the night, a couple days before.
Okay.
They'll bag them up, they'll slice them up, and they'll have them for a slight extra fee. And then whoever gets tagged with doing it just submits the receipt to our bookkeeper and get reimbursed.
Do you have any information on how many we've ordered?
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Yeah, I do.
don't mind calling it.
I think we've done like 3 dozen at WCS and 2 or 3 at Allenbrook. Because I think there's slightly less staff at Allenbrook.
yes, considerably less. Yeah.
So maybe if it's 4 and 2 kind of thing.
2 dozen?
Yeah.
That seems like not a lot of bagels.
Well, they get
They're cut into
they get
pieces.
they get halved and halved, and I don't know. There's always extra left over, so I don't know.
Maybe not everybody comes by. Do you leave them there?
We
throughout
leave
the
them there,
day?
and
Okay.
then they'll disappear.
Okay, okay. They just might not come by in the morning.
Yeah.
Okay, I see. And then how much cream cheese? Just however much
Yeah,
they
I
suggest?
can order it
Okay.
for both schools, but
Yeah,
I
so
don't
you
think
pick it up
we
and
just
then-
do for both schools. And
Yeah,
pick it
right, and
up.
then just drop them off. Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
So you'll drop off the bagels and
Yeah,
I'll
so
coordinate with
I'll
you.
find out from Kevin exactly.
Yeah,
And
I'll
I'll
actually go back.
coordinate
And,
with
I think I got a note from last. I think I did it last year, so I'll check. Okay. Thanks for that little logistical sideline.
So then, there was a little evaluation that FAP went through of just making sure, are the events or the activities of the organization, do they fall under community communication, education support, families or fundraising? So went through that exercise. Had a question about signage for WCS on whether or not we could do some sort of nice sign out in front of WCS on Route 2
Kind of like the fire station one.
like the fire station one, where we could start using it for, you know, not an electric one like CVU, but putting up letters and things.
Instead of the sandwich boards.
Permanent ones, instead of the same, so.
I like that idea.
Yeah, so
So-
some discussion of that.
I'll tell you the kicker on that, is you're inside the
I
historic
know.
district and the
Right.
DRB has to get involved,
Right.
so
FAB's on it.
forethought and
Yeah,
planning
we
might
talked
take
about
place.
it,
Yeah.
there's someone looking into that.
Yeah.
And then Greg, as part of the facilities discussion, one of the things that came up was just that a lot of the facilities initiative is focused on WCS and nothing about ABS, and so there was just a little, I think I emailed you
Mm-hmm.
about that, so,
Mm-hmm.
so that just was something that came up, so.
Okay.
That was it, I think that was most of it.
Okay. Thanks. Oh, and you guys started posting your meetings electronically. How did that work out?
So, I have no idea how many people are viewing it, but basically you stare at Cheney or whoever. I got pulled in to stand next to her
Oh, yeah, you
to,
did. I think you're the only one.
yeah, no, Greg sat next to her.
Oh, that's right, you did
and
do
so-
that.
Hey, you can't say you're not reaching out.
Yeah,
That's
so,
the
you
important
know,
part.
that's the thing, you hear that, you know, it's, you know, the meetings are during the day, nobody can participate, but, you know, nobody reads the minutes, nobody, you know, it's just,
Yep.
Had things in the evenings, people weren't going. So.
but, yeah.
All right. Great, thanks. Discussion matters. Policy, so up for discussion are student conduct and discipline, school-sponsored student activities and athletics, and weapons policy. Who's on, who's our rep team?
I am. It was canceled this week.
Okay.
They're rescheduling it for early May.
So the discussion that came up at CSSU that was of note, that's interesting, is that there are actually a lot of changes to weapons policy, in that there's been a lot of work put into redefining what a weapon is around intent, not necessarily the length of a knife per se, so that there's wording and explanation around, I'm trying to figure out the best wording to use. You know, an instrument, yeah, it's and its intended use. So, you know, the example was brought up where, you know, Johnny was doing a Boy Scout project or something and left a knife in his backpack, and he might have taken it out and shown it to a friend, and a teacher saw it, and that starts an entire weapons violation policy that has to come to us in the end, because that's the policy. The intent there wasn't necessarily to harm or to bully or harass, so that needs to be addressed, but maybe it doesn't need to be addressed all the way up to the board. So administration now has some leeway to measure intent. Is that a fair way of explaining?
Yeah, that's my understanding of it. Makes a lot of sense. I mean,
Kind of makes a
Yeah.
lot of sense, yeah. Okay. So, review that, please, because that'll be a review for action next month, or whenever we meet next. I guess that's next, yeah. Any other questions on policies that are up for discussion? Okay. Communications Board's Corner.
I'm just sort of on policies in
Mhm.
general. One thing that I'd like to see how we could do is, we don't actually have parents or students sign off on the fact that they've read the policy handbook or anything like that. And I
Do we or
just,
don't we?
I don't know.
well, two different policy and student handbook.
Yeah, whatever the one the parents are supposed to, you know, the students are supposed to have.
Right, that's the
certain
handbook.
Things, the handbook, and everything's electronic, and we don't
Mhm.
mail anything out anymore, so do you rely on everybody to read it electronically? But, you know, if there's expectations of understanding what these policies are so you don't violate them, how do we educate people of what the policies are? And therefore, should we have some sort of a sign-off, or should there be part of, at the beginning of the year for students, a review of the main policies that they need to understand, like this weapons policy and other kinds of things, so that, you know, the onus isn't on them to like look it up.
Well, bullying and harassment policies are covered every year
Okay.
for all students,
Mhm.
first week of school.
Okay.
In fact, first day of school, there's a big PBIS meeting, and they go over what bullying is, what harassment is, the definitions,
Okay.
and how it's handled.
Okay.
So that's covered every year, and that's part of the requirement of the policy, actually. The handbook points to policies, like the handbook will say, these are our
Here's the list.
procedures, and it points to a certain policy, and certain policies are required to be in the handbook.
Right.
My opinion on the sign-off thing is that, when you build something like that in, then you have to have a system around accountability, and then are you going to chase people down for signatures, and does that mean it's being paid? Are people really paying more attention to it, or are they just signing the back page and sending it in? So,
And the all-important question, what if a parent refuses to sign?
Right, we are a governmental entity.
Yeah.
I think from my perspective, there's a philosophical problem with compelling signatures. Although I agree with the idea that we really should
that it
make sure that
informs.
we're educating and informing.
right. What I can do as a takeaway action is to really look at how we publicize, announce, and make sure that we're as conspicuous and repetitive as appropriate with that, and say, this is super important. Maybe we need to do that over the first 6 weeks of school as opposed to just once or twice in the school bell.
We might want to take up the conversation at the policy committee, because I'm going to guess that whatever good practice comes out of the conversation
Could be.
probably should be uniform across,
Okay.
particularly as it relates to policy.
Yeah, yeah.
And just a slight subject change, but just to note that since Brandon's our rep, so it's our job here in this meeting during discussion to make sure that if we have any issues with policy,
Take it off.
he knows, so he can take it back to committee and represent that so that it gets addressed. And that's the process, just so we understand. Okay. Thank you. Board's Corner. I think,
What is this? I'm just kidding.
okay, so
Before we start.
that's a fair question. We try and focus on making sure that we're publicizing some of our work or upcoming work, and we specifically target the Observer. So in past years, they gave us a little spot called Board's Corner, which they no longer do, but that doesn't stop us from calling it Board's Corner, so that's why there's confusion.
Makes a lot more
So
sense.
usually it's a letter, kind of a letter to the editor, and
see.
they're usually very accommodating and give us, 200 to 400 words worth of space, and we can get some information out to the public about a particular subject. So the discussion is, are we going to do that this next month, and what would the subject be? I know separate of this, there'll be lots of Act 46 stuff that's going to be out and about in French Forum and Williston Observer and some other places, but that's not necessarily our voice. So if we have things that we want the community to know about, we should do that. So it's open to discussion.
We start talking about the bond.
That's a good question. I think if I think this is my thought on it. If we take action tonight to give the committee the go-ahead to continue the work to prepare for the bond, that the committee needs to come up with the communications plan on our behalf. And then we need to agree with it and execute it. And it's not that it's too early, but it's a little too early. Although some of the first things the committee has discussed are, we need to have the community come in and tour the facility. It's going to be the number one eye-opening thing that needs to happen.
I think
So
it
it's
is
timing.
too early.
Yeah,
I mean,
timing.
until we have a plan that's fully baked,
Right.
we're going to create, I think, anxiety for the community once they
We won't
kind
be able
of
to answer
contemplate a
questions
number
we
that's-
should be able to
that's
answer.
out there.
You know.
Maybe we could do something that's more of a hybrid approach, because I think, based on recent Front Porch Forum posts, there seems to be some questions around Act 46, like what's the benefit to Williston? And I think maybe if we had a specific piece about, it's beneficial to Williston because of blah, 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 blah. And then, oh, by the way, when you come in to vote on June 7th, please come in, take a tour and look at the building. So it kind of weaves two birds, one stone. I don't know if that would be too odd an article, but.
I think it's tough to do the tour because it's during a school day, so there's issues with that. And
Or just look at the building as you come in, pay attention to things more. I don't know.
there's a possibility we could frame
that we're
that.
gonna have out.
yeah.
Look for information we're gonna have out. I don't know. Because
It
they're
would be
going to
nice
be
to have
there
some-
anyways.
I mean, we talked about this
Mhm.
on election day, or on June 7th, of having
Right.
Information.
something.
A display,
A display.
maybe a representative from the,
Greg took
All
so
the
many
pictures,
pictures on the tour last
Mhm.
month. that would be really,
We may be able to frame it that, where we are in the process, from that sense. I don't know, I'm a little concerned about confusing the public.
I think I would agree, let's just
Yeah.
keep it separate, because
Yeah.
if you have pictures or tell people to look at the building when you walk in, that can start
Right,
rumors.
the tough issue that could come under discussion around this, though, is Act 46 consolidation and our bond. There may be financial implications that, in a sense, could be a little more positive for Williston. But that, again, can get confusing, and so I think I'd rather let that lie until we have more we can talk to about it. Because the numbers that, we can get us highlighted, the Act 46 numbers are a whole different discussion. So maybe that's not the right thing to talk about, Board's Corner. Maybe it's, I don't know. Does anybody have an idea of something we feel like we need to get out?
People have been asking a lot about, sorry. Some people have expressed interest in transparency, so maybe we do an article on how we communicate, how we put out information, who you can contact, when you can contact them.
That's a good idea.
Where to find things.
That is a very good
That is a
idea.
very good idea.
Because there's a lot of opportunities for someone to get information, but
They may not be
how
aware.
you access it,
Right, yeah.
that makes a lot of sense.
Um,
And I would suggest that should be a regular, that should be an annual thing.
yeah.
A little blurb. Could be, short.
It's a really good idea.
So, at work, we always say if you come up with an idea.
I don't mind. So, Amanda.
So would you like to take a first shot at it?
Sure, I'll take
Thank you. Wow, I just shut down all Board's
the
Corner
process-
submissions for the next year.
Yes, you did.
so
I
the
don't mind.
process is, she drafts it, gives it to you to,
Yeah, and I'll disseminate to everyone individual back to me as usual
Okay.
on comments
I
and
might have
copy you.
questions as to what we have where, but
Yeah, that's fine, and
Okay.
and you can, I can help you there.
as fresh eyes, I'll explore and find what I can.
Yeah,
and-
well, you'll probably prove the point. And there's been a board member's customary agreement that if you do one, you're kind of off the agenda until it comes back around again. So we should try and get everybody to contribute. So.
No pressure.
So that's that. Okay, let's get into action matters here. So 7.1 is the 2015-16 calendar, last student day, faculty day. So there's a calendar that's in your package that was presented. Wait a
this
minute.
is the last student day.
Oh,
for
this is
school
even
year.
easier.
Yeah, this is easier. Sorry.
This is my one mistake for the night. I got through. I remembered FAPAC. I was so proud of myself. Yes. So this is the last student day faculty. So for us, it's June 10th, and faculty has 3 additional days.
And that is the 175th day of
And that
the
is the
school year.
175th mandated student day of the year for us. So can I have a motion to accept the calendar as proposed?
I make the motion to accept the last student day as June 10th.
Second.
2016.
Great. Discussion. Any questions about it?
So, I have a comment. I'm the Grinch of summer break, and I'm going to vote no, and I just want to explain it, so if my children are watching on the feed, they'll understand why.
I'm emailing them.
I philosophically believe, if anything, we should be extending our school year, and therefore, to take an action that shortens the school year, and I understand there's a convenience factor for our community, is inconsistent with that desire and belief. So, I'd rather, we've budgeted, we've paid for it. I'd like to maximize every school day that we can.
So, I understand where you're coming from, but I think that we are obligated when we put the calendar together to build in 3 or so many snow days. So it's really not that we're losing those. I think that they're built in and that we've used them, so we don't need to add other days onto it. I think they're budgeted in there time-wise so that families can plan summer, that, like, there's a certain amount, because I looked this up, so, that are built in.
But
so.
we're still targeting the fewest days possible
Yeah.
by which to satisfy state standards. So I feel like we should be doing better.
What does the union contract say?
Let's be clear, to Josh's point, you're compromising on the number of student contact days that you could have had if in fact you extended the student days through Monday and Tuesday of the following week. You're still getting full value for contract days because
Right.
your contract employees are coming in the following week, regardless, whether you bring students in or you don't, they're coming into work.
3 extra days.
So the whole question is you're losing student contact time as a result of, I think your question is you're losing student contact time that you otherwise would have had.
So realistically, what do teachers need to do to close up for summer in regards to grades and different things? How many days do they need? A day?
No, well, it's also professional development opportunities. So, some years we've had anywhere from 1 to 3 days. So we're kind of optimistic about the prospect of having 3 days because it's good to have that time to do some professional development, some pack up, some teacher-to-teacher meetings for transition of students. So students who are leaving one team going to a new team, teacher-to-teacher meetings happen during that time.
So what type of professional development would happen right before a long summer break?
It could be, it's not the best time for deep professional development, but it could be, in this case, we're going to be using Jump Rope, a new reporting system next year, and teachers have expressed interest in getting as much of a jump, no pun intended there, on learning that system as possible so that during the summer they can actually start building units within the system. It's a standards-based reporting system that will be new to all Williston teachers that they're using next year. So that's an example of professional development that could occur during that time.
That's a great example.
Any further discussion? All in favor of accepting the 10th of June as the last student school day? Affirmative aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Opposed?
So noted. Motion passes. 7.2. Now we get to the calendar.
Just in time.
Just in time. You can help me explain it. So the motion is to adopt a 2016-17 CSSU calendar. It's not as shown on page 26 of your insert. So the amended motion, and I explained this earlier, but I'm just going to say it one more time to make sure we all understand, is that instead of having some days in the calendar that are Tuesdays and Wednesdays that do not have early release and
So
late start.
specifically, September 6th, 7th, December 20th, 21st, and then June 12th and 14th. Those are the 6 days that are
Right.
unusual Tuesday, Wednesdays.
We would have the same number of early release, late start days happen consecutively, starting at the beginning of the school year and ending, I think it's the 3rd week in May, somewhere around there.
Yeah, it would end right at
I think if you
Memorial
have your
Day.
calendar in front of you, it would mean that you're going to have professional development on the 2 September days that you mentioned, and you're going to have professional development on the 2 December days
Yep.
Yes.
that are currently yellow, and you're going to not have professional development on the June dates
And
and the
6th and
last week
7th.
of May.
So the last,
And May
so
30th
it
and
would end
31st.
to the 24th of May.
Yes.
Yes.
Correct.
I just noticed something. We start school on a Wednesday. Should that be a late start day? No? No. Okay. I just noticed that.
It's already what we call a smart start day for the high school, so it's already a day that's different.
Different. Okay.
So does everybody understand the motion as amended?
Or what
Well,
you're entertaining? for a
The motion that we are entertaining, that's correct.
Can you just summarize it real quick? I kind of lost it real quick.
Okay, so you have the 2 days here, the 6th and the 7th, and then you have 2 days, the 20th and the 21st, and 2 days in June, the 13th and the 14th. Those are not currently marked as early release or late start.
Yep.
So what we would do is starting the first Tuesday in September, it would be earlier release, and it would be early release and late start straight through Memorial Day. So then you would,
Everything's consistent.
right,
throughout the
and then
year.
you'd have a switch
Yeah.
at the end, and then it would be early release and late start would stop then, and you'd have normal days after that.
Thank you.
So do we need to have a motion before we have discussion?
We should, well, we didn't actually take a motion. So can I have a motion to, did we? No, we didn't. Can I have a motion to accept the CSSU calendar, to adopt the CSSU calendar for the 2016-17 year as amended, I guess,
Yeah. Amended.
because you
By
were given this,
Right.
so it is as amended.
I-
And I'll ask Sandy to put into words the amended dates, because we've discussed it.
So moved.
Second.
Any further discussion?
I'm going to vote against this motion. I want to just put my explanation on the record. While I do understand the need for additional professional development time, and I support that concept, I have heard from a number of constituents their objection to it. And I think in light of upcoming contract negotiations, the need could be better addressed through that process than causing perceived problems for our constituents. So I'm going to be voting against the calendar.
So when we offered another, that 5 to 6 time or whatever last week, right before break, how, did anybody come?
We had light attendance, but we did have some attendance.
About 6 people?
Yeah, about 6
maybe 8.
people. It was a good discussion, and I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, I think the general consensus among the members of the public that came after hearing about it and understanding what it's going to do, that they were very positive about it.
Yeah, they were positive about it. There was one particular person who wanted to know more specifically what was going to happen with that hour each week.
Which goes
so
back to some of the
to get,
transparency
like,
questions.
Yeah, some of the feedback to know that, hey, we've given you this hour. How is it working for you?
And I want to know that too.
Yeah.
Right.
So that was the only
Very fair, very fair.
Totally fair.
Yeah, that was the only concern that was
Liability.
raised, or whatever, concern, but item brought up that.
I think no matter how we look at it, moving to this model is going to be extremely difficult for the first year or two because we're asking people to change their lives. So, but what we're really trying to do, and what I'm hearing from administration, is that even though the parents are changing their lives, in the long run, this is going to be better for the students that are coming to the school. So that's what I'm hearing. So we're improving the education to the students by making this change.
And from what I've heard, the administration's also going to be very supportive with, after-school options, that sort of thing. Somebody did bring up separately to me that I forgot to mention to you guys. So imagine kids just get picked up; they don't have to pay anything extra. Low-income families, what options would they have so they wouldn't have to pay, something along those lines if they have to work?
They would have the similar or same options that they have now to access financial assistance. So there's 2 routes to do that. There's a state subsidy application that families can use for the after-school program, and then if they don't qualify for that, but are still financially unable to, that we have some local money through our arrangement with Imagine that we can tap into to support those families.
Okay.
What's the cost of that program to a family that doesn't receive any aid?
It's $20 an hour.
I wouldn't be able to tell you that off the top of my head. I know that kids who are in the program, the extra hour will be added in at no additional cost. So we've already heard that from the director. So students who are already enrolled won't have any additional cost, and that that Jeff O'Hara is considering a special rate for families who just access that one day because they have a daily rate.
So in the
For families.
Imagine program, is that typically people who qualify for assistance or not?
No.
Or is it just a mix of
It's
anybody? if
anybody who-
wants to come?
Who takes advantage of the after-school program?
Great. Okay.
Any other questions or discussion?
I guess I want to just bring up what I walked away from our March CSSU meeting understanding, or believing I understood, which was we're approving the calendar and embedded in that is professional development, but that we as a board don't necessarily have, that it's in the administration's purview to establish professional development and not in our purview to even weigh in on it. And that's, I'm just wanting to bring that up because I'm sort of struck by that comment in March.
Right. Well, I mean, the note that I just wrote down was, based on the conversation I just heard, accountability, report on usage, how we're using that time quarterly. That just makes sense. So we always report on how we use the professional development, but it is administration that, based on what our work plan is and the initiatives that we're implementing, that determine what the professional development's going to be. But what I heard just now that was different from the way we normally report, which is as part of the Colt report, as part of the principal's report, and it's, in some ways you could say, random. You're not expecting it at a particular time. When I just heard this conversation, I was thinking, that's a good idea. We do that on a quarterly basis. Update on professional development as an accountability measure. Does that kind of respond?
Well, no, I just, I guess we're being asked to, it's sort of feeling like the school boards are approving this or something, but
right.
We're not. I mean, we're approving the calendar, and embedded in the calendar is how the school district wants to now deliver professional development in a different way.
Right.
And,
so in statute, there's a requirement that we provide a certain amount of professional development, and how we do that then becomes a local option. For many years, people did it. You do a day in October, you do another day in January, you do another day in March. And when we were doing things that were kind of one-offs, we've got this new thing that they've decided we all have to do, and we're going to gather everybody for a day, and we're going to train them, and once they know it forever. That kind of made sense. But we've been moving away from that kind of way of doing our work for a long time. And we're really at a place now, and I think the teachers in the little video clip said it so well. For our own kids, we don't just say, here's how it is, and leave it, and if you got it, great, and if you didn't, too bad, because we're moving on. We're like going back every week, making sure they still understand, and it keeps growing. And we really need to do that with our professionals too, so that it's not lost, because teachers really are going at about 150 miles an hour from the first day of school until that last day. And so when we take a day, regardless of how wonderful the experience is, as soon as they're back in the classroom, the real world hits. There are 20 kids there, and they have needs, and they revert back to like, okay, this is the way I've always done it. Initially, they're thinking, I'm going to implement this new thing I learned. But lickety-split, they're back to like the way they've done it, because that's just how we all are as human beings.
well, and I see with, personalized learning plans, and how do you really spend a lot of time on those if you're, not doing it?
Right.
I guess I'd like to also see, as part of any kind of quarterly report, my hope would be with something like this is that we reduce the number of substitutes, aka parents, that we bring into the school to teach our children, or to be in the classroom with our children during that time.
And the teachers hope that too.
I'd
And
like
some
to
of them
see-
spoke to
and
that.
if we can at least take a snapshot of our use now and be able to measure that, I think that would be something.
Because that's been discussed
Because that
a
could
lot.
end up being a savings. I mean, you talked about how much this might cost in transportation or whatever, but there could end up being a savings if we reduce the amount of, it's hard to find substitutes, so it's hard to find quality
And teachers don't
substitutes.
really want to be out of their classrooms
No.
as much.
So if that
I
could
think
be
the
a positive-
teachers really believe that it will have that
I
impact.
mean,
When-
that would, to me, would be the biggest.
The way I also see this, and correct me if I'm wrong, please, but we're trying this for a year. So we're going to talk about this throughout the year, and then we're going to have to make a decision if this is something that we want to continue going with going forward, just as the calendar can be changed. So if we, at the end of next year, get bad feedback from you guys and teachers and stuff, maybe we need to reconsider what we're doing. This is an opportunity for
the teachers to have a new way of doing things and learning things and be consistent in going across how they're learning to do new things. If it doesn't work, we go back to something different.
And taking that a step farther, so there were a couple people who contacted me individually and asked to talk about this, and I reached out to both of them before we had that meeting, and they were all okay. But one of the things that kind of resonated with them is that, so there is the contract negotiation next year. If we kind of not give the teachers a bone, but do this in favor of, like, it's something that's helpful for them, it's something that's good for them, and say, hey, we've done this for you guys, what can you get, like, you know, how can you give back to us in the negotiation? That's a better position to enter negotiations in than, hi, we need to ask you for favors, we need to ask you to give us something to get you the professional development spread out the way you need it, so.
But we shouldn't.
I just wanted to clarify that this proposal is originated by the administration, not the teachers, and this
Right,
isn't, this
yeah.
hasn't been, okay.
Yeah.
This, it wasn't
I
a
didn't know if
request
it
by
made that clear.
teachers or initiated in any way by teachers. This was administration out of need to, for a model that we could provide better professional development.
Right, and so you put forth, the administration put forth the request, but if we implement that request in a way that's favorable to the teachers, entering a contract negotiation, having done something like that, is the school board having just kind of done them something that's more favorable? Or instead of
But
saying, hey, we want this from you?
we shouldn't wait, in my opinion, for any amount of time due to a union or any other governing agency to do the right thing. You know, we shouldn't push it back for a year if it's something that we believe we should do.
I just would like to note a comment made by a CSSU board member. I might not get his name. Bill Baker, is it?
Bill Baker.
Bill Baker.
And it really resonated with me. It's a value statement to some extent that's being made, and it is an indication of, we expect a great deal of expertise and professional skill in our teachers, and we're expecting more and more of them every year. And with those expectations, it's completely appropriate to provide a model of professional development that aligns with the work we expect them to do. And by putting this kind of model in place, I think we're making a value statement about the importance of that work, and we're also to the community as well as to the teachers and the what we expect about the level of expert work in the classrooms.
And I actually think that as much as talking about transparency should be an article in the Observer, something on this should be in the Observer as well. It was in the Shelburne paper, so I feel like this should be something that.
Yeah, to that point, maybe even more so than the article on transparency, this will have impacts on scheduling childcare issues, and the sooner that gets communicated, the better for our kids, and maybe to the extent.
Even the businesses that read the Observer will how they can support, and it's the whole school district. It's not just us, but, depending on the outcome of votes tonight, everybody voting for this calendar and this professional development program, and having, information on how to watch the link of the interviews with teachers and staff and, all that information. There's a wealth of information out there about the benefits of this, to get that out. So.
That would be something the administration would do, though, and that wouldn't be under our article. Okay. Just want to make sure that was clear.
Well, we need to own our affirming vote too. It's not
okay.
inappropriate
That's
for
what
us
we would be doing.
to work with Greg to put a small article in.
Yeah.
Okay, I see what you're getting at now, Josh.
And to follow it up in the school bill.
So, Karen, so do we want to switch it up and do the professional development boards corner this month?
Well, no, I mean, if it should be, like the Shelburne was not a board's corner, it was the front page of the Shelburne newspaper, about this.
I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll make a call to the editor and see if they want to run something separate, and let's continue with our transparency article. Does that seem appropriate?
I mean, I don't know if it was the front page, actually. I searched for it, but.
That's okay.
I think it was pretty obvious, because my mother said, what's going on with your calendar? I read it in the Shelburne newspaper.
Okay, so I'll take that to do. that's fine, and maybe we can get a small article from them addressing it specifically.
I think we can get the transparency one written at the same time.
Oh, I think we
And
should.
have it to roll it out. I mean, there's no reason why we can't
Yep.
have,
The-
can't be in the Observer more frequently.
Mhm.
My impression is the Observer's always very interested in looking for things to publish, so that's good. So let's bring it back around to the action item. If there's no further questions or discussion, any further? All in favor of adopting the 2016-17 CSSU calendar as amended? Please signify with aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Opposed?
So noted, motion passes. 7.3, so this is a motion to authorize the facility committee to move forward with work necessary to bring a capital improvement article forward for board consideration. There was a small thing in your handout. The board is asked to authorize the facility committee to move forward with work necessary to bring a capital improvement article forward for a board consideration at its September meeting, planning on same article going to voters in the early November timeframe. At the moment, the article is anticipated to be greater than $14.8 million. So can I have a motion and then we'll discuss?
Motion.
Second.
Okay, discussion.
Can you explain to me where you came up with the 14.8, why it's at that level, and
It was the artist there, I think. The 14.8 is what we had on the table before, am I correct?
Right.
The general flavor of the conversation of the board, the last time you had a conversation was, there was some sense that maybe the right number is higher than 14.8. The number is probably not. There will be no enthusiasm to go as high as, say, 21 or 22. And so I thought it would be in the board's best interest to do the 14.8 plus, and then leave that with the facility committee to come back with an appropriate project scope that takes into account the conversation you all had the last time.
I thought the committee was also kind of look at it from three angles. One, this is what has to happen. Two, this is what has to happen, and this would be nice to happen. Three, all the below, and we would like this to happen. So
Right.
I'd like to kind of see those three things.
Well, also, I think what we said after the tour was that as part of like transparency, this is the full amount of need.
Right.
Yeah.
It's not 14.8. This is the full scope of what is needed for this school, that we need to bring that before the community and say, that, like, what to Brendan's point, that this is, this is what we're asking for now, but, there's a lot of need.
I mean,
Is that fair? Isn't that what we have?
Yeah.
I also heard a theme from that meeting of let's hear from the community about
yeah.
what they think
Yeah.
is rather than put a number.
Right.
In other words, like, as you said, let them see everything on the list, and let's hear from them.
Yes.
So that, yes,
so the charge should include community engagement?
or it's implied, I guess.
To move forward with the work necessary.
Yeah.
Well, that's actually a great idea. Why don't we have the committee come up with a proposal on how to engage the community?
I think that is the intention.
I think that's the intent. If you want to clarify, we can
I think we should
amend, but
spell
I
it
think
out.
it's, really? No, I think it's intended.
And if we don't come to you with that plan, you'll
Right.
tell us.
If the subcommittee
it's-
doesn't come back with
Go back
that
to
as
work.
part of the plan,
There you go.
yeah.
I mean,
Right.
You're on the committee?
Yeah, I'm on the committee, but I mean, this board's gonna just make the decision.
Yeah.
I know, it's just, there's this long lull in between meetings, and you want to just make sure that you have enough, you want your expectations to be crystal clear so that you don't delay things for like another 30 days or whatever. We only have so many more board meetings before summer.
So I have a friendly amendment that we add in that part of the charge will be to develop a community engagement plan. And that we will present that to this board at the same time.
Okay.
Just so there's no ambiguity.
My question about that is that it sounded like a plan to be considered by the board. My feeling about the facilities work is that we need to begin community engagement immediately. So yes, develop a plan, and yes, get going on it before even the next school board meeting, and that this motion, this action would allow the committee to do that work. So I wouldn't want to wait a month for the board to say, yeah, we like this community engagement plan, and then start the community engagement. I think after this motion is made, the facilities committee is going to schedule another meeting.
Quickly.
Yeah, quickly.
Quickly.
Yep.
And so on the facilities committee, it's the three of you, yourself, John Turco, is that right?
It's Josh and myself, and then
Oh, Karen's on. I thought Karen was, okay. You're on Act 46, okay. Okay.
yeah, and then the committee also consists of Greg and John and Bob and our architects and our engineers as well as our building manager.
And our FAP.
And Shane's on.
And Shane's there too from
Oh,
FAP.
Shane,
Yeah.
Okay.
So there's lots of input from different people, which is great.
But 4 of the, I think I counted 9 members are here now and are hearing what we have to say,
Yeah.
so can you guys take that with you?
I
Or do we
just
have to have
basically,
this?
I just feel like,
Okay.
this is just my personal opinion, Karen. We're saying we're moving forward with the work necessary. Part of the work necessary is communications plan. I mean, you could call out all the other items and put them in here too.
Oh, yeah.
It's the same level of expectation. That's,
I'm fine with that, I think, let's get going with that.
okay.
Yeah, I'm fine with that too.
Okay, are you willing to withdraw your request for a friendly amendment?
Yeah, it's fine.
Okay. So, with that said, do we have any further questions or discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. More work for the facilities committee, and that's a good thing. Okay, and that brings us to 7.4, which was pulling out policy 8.3.2, which was F5 search, seizure, and interrogation of students by law enforcement personnel or other non-school personnel. So let's just get a motion to approve the,
I'm going to move to table this policy until we have the F4 search, seizure, and interrogation of students by school personnel to review at the same time. And I have several reasons for that, which I'm happy to discuss.
it's late, but is Cindy, is Elvis still in the building?
In the interest of time, I would just say, go ahead, but you need to be clear with your policy committee member on the reasons why. This has already gone through the discussion phase, and so Cindy will.
We didn't last month because we didn't have discussion of these policies last month because our meeting was running long, so we tabled.
We didn't get to
discussion
this item.
completely.
Okay. Yeah, I pulling it out and tabling it, I don't think is amiss given all that, so.
Okay. And
So I guess it's either,
at some point, we need to communicate why.
you want me to do it right now?
Yeah.
So 2 reasons. Not seeing, I don't think F4 was put in our packet, or at least I don't remember reading it. So I think subject matter-wise, these are going to dovetail. I'd like to see what they look like in their totality so I can understand how they interrelate. Because I do know F5 does talk about, there is some overlap, which is already in F5. That's kind of the conceptual issue. There's a substantive issue of an answer that I would like to get from someone in the know. So it's my general understanding that when the police come in to interrogate a student, you have to give the parents or the guardians notice. There is an exception that is written into F5, I think for safety issues. And the citation of authority is to what's called the Fourth Circuit Court of Appeals. That is a jurisdiction that doesn't necessarily apply to Vermont. And I want to understand whether council has reviewed that and whether there's a feeling as to whether or not that exception is grounded in law that applies to this jurisdiction. Because I don't want to start creating a policy that could run afoul of civil liberties and create exposure for our school district.
May I make a recommendation?
Oh, yeah.
Could you write that out in 2 paragraphs? Because I'm not quick enough to take that all down
Yeah, I'm happy.
in script and get it back to the committee members, but
Yeah,
I think you could in 2 or 3 paragraphs get them started in the right direction.
Truly appreciate you being on
Yes.
board, because this is something none of us would know.
So,
So
yeah,
thank you.
I'll email.
That'd be great.
Bob, Brendan, and our chair.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Our committee meeting is being rescheduled for sometime during the first week of May, which would be next week, so I can get that addressed at that meeting.
Thank you.
That was
Great.
canceled from, it was supposed to happen tomorrow.
Okay, so I guess the motion is to table this, any action on this policy at this time, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
We need a second.
We need a second. to that.
Second, third.
Great. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion is tabled. Great, that gets us out of action and into consent. So can I have a motion to accept the consent agenda
As amended.
as amended, correct?
So moved. Second.
Sandy,
Maybe
pick.
you can pick, yeah. We can put it at the same time.
Great. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Consent agenda passes. That gets us to confirming the next meeting dates. So we have, so the special meeting I discussed will be in the morning of May 3rd. Sandy, I think, has passed me some phone numbers of people who have said that they can be available. I appreciate that. If you want to be available, pass Sandy or myself your phone number and I'll get you there. Okay, I read it real fast. Great. Any questions about how that's going to work? I'm going to call you all up, conference you all in. Going to have an action item, going to vote on it. Then you need to sign.
It'll
Don't
be
forget
fast,
to
right?
affirm our identities when you make the call.
Yeah, roll call. I do understand that.
Okay.
I do.
They have my cell phone, I'll reach out to you with a different number for you to call me at.
Okay. Okay, great, thank you.
We
Other
won't
than-
have to discuss anything, right? Most
Uh,
likely.
There's not much to discuss.
Okay.
It's
I'll have a 3-year-old in the room, that's why I asked.
Well, the
That's-
law has been designed to accommodate your interests. There is really nothing you can change
Okay.
on any of
Great.
it.
I can say aye in 2
By law,
seconds.
so.
While I'm giving
So it's, yeah,
So you're going to call us. We're not calling into a conference call number. Okay.
right.
All right.
Okay.
Yep.
Great. May 17th is our next regular meeting. At the moment, May 26th is the annual retreat. So what we're going to do is discuss that at board chair. Keep it on your schedule because no decision's been made yet. So we're assuming we'll still have it pending further discussion. And as soon as that, if a different decision is made, we will all hear about it as quick as we can.
Elaine's not here. I'd mentioned to her, and I mentioned to you, on May 6th, Brendan, is it May 6th? We're doing a like a tour of all the buildings in the
Oh,
SU.
the new board member
Yeah.
tour.
And since we're doing a facilities update to Central School, I thought it might be useful for us all to see the state of the other schools so that we can say, hey, wow, we're really behind, or not as behind. It just might help us with more information as we vote for the bond or not. I didn't know if that was, it's May, is it May 6th?
Did we land on May 4th or May 5th?
I thought it was May 6th.
Okay.
I, you know, it was still out there, and
I
never
can't
really got it.
remember.
So could you guys,
No, I thought we picked a date. Let me check my calendar.
Well,
I have a babysitter coming.
We can accommodate any number of people that want to join us.
the bus has got seats.
Well, if y'all come,
Y'all,
we're probably going to get another vehicle, but
Oh, okay, it's the 4th. My babysitter's on my calendar. It's the 4th. Wednesday
that's what
the
I thought.
4th.
Okay, good.
Wednesday the 4th.
I won't be able to come. I think it's a great idea, but
Okay.
just for planning purposes.
Okay.
Okay,
Wednesday
so if
the
anybody
4th
else is
of May.
interested, let Sandy know.
Let Sandy, Elaine, or Bob know.
Okay.
That would be this Bob.
Okay.
Okay, thank you, that's great. Otherwise, CSSU board meetings, 17th at the regular meeting, retreat again, and board chairs, of course, is the same day as our May 3rd meeting. And we have nothing for executive session. Can I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
We are adjourned.